trucking on, and I'm trucking on. Move her on down the line, another town will do me fine. I'm trucking on, I'm trucking on.
David Pinsel, welcome to Truckin' On.
This has been a dream of mine for over 2 years now, my friend.
And you both.
Thank you for having me.
You got it, man. Welcome back to Texas.
I miss it, especially on days like today. Why did I leave? This place is pretty awesome.
I love being around you. I remember specifically when we met, it was over 14 years ago.
Crazy.
Probably like 14 and a half years ago. And I went to go meet with you to join Colliers, and you were managing the Dallas office.
Amazing.
And you had been moved by Colliers to Dallas to manage the office from California, from SoCal. And we met and hit it off instantly.
We did.
I met you, and I'd been in so many different commercial real estate jobs. It was my fourth job in a matter of like 5 years.
Yeah, I remember.
I had a rocky start to my career. And when I met you, it was the first time I met someone who's in charge. That we were the same age, and you're like, we were 33 or something back then.
You were young. What happened?
I know. We were like 33 years old, but you're managing the office, and it's like, you're like my bro, and you're in charge. Like, I did not know this was possible at like a global company also. And I was like so fired up. I bought you a pair of Lucchese
Still have
cowboy
them, and I
boots.
still wear them every now and then.
Yeah. And I was like, I told Gina, my wife at the time, who just called actually and said hi to you.
Yeah.
I was like, Gina, this guy is so cool. I'm going to buy him a pair of cowboy boots, and I'm joining a new company. I'm sure she was slightly concerned that it was 4 companies in 5 years, but hey, it's been 14 years now. So let's go.
I'll tell you what, man, I've hired a lot of people in my career. I don't think I've seen someone come from where you were to where you currently are. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 other brokers out of maybe 500 I've hired. It's amazing to see what you've become as a broker and as a person. And we can talk about all of that advancement you've made in your life. But man, I remember those days fondly. We had a good time, and it's just really good to see how you've turned out after all these years. You know, I couldn't have guessed that in a million years.
I give you so much credit, more than you know, for my success in this life. And I really can't stress that enough. And I can tell you, like, first, just when I started there was like just a belief you had in me that I'm sure as a leader that you displayed this to everyone that's working for you. It was your leadership style is encouragement and just like really treating me like anyone else, even though I wasn't really that like some proven producer or anything. And if any, I was pretty rough around the edges and did not have like a solid book of business, but you just treated me. You're like, dude, you're going to be grossing $1 million before you know it. And that had never even really occurred to me that would even be a possibility.
I remember those first conversations very vividly. It's hard when you are in a leadership role. You know, you want to be friends, and you want to have good relationships with the people that you work with, but you also got to be a little bit careful becoming too good of friends with your, especially the people that work for you, right? So there's that line, and you were very hard to toe that line with, because, at that time I didn't know very many people in Dallas, and, I looked at you as like not only someone that I saw massive potential in, but just someone I wanted to be friends with. And so I kind of bucked my own rules about getting too close to my coworkers. And you were just, it was too hard to not be your friend. And I'm glad after all these years that, I chose to go that route with you. Because, I consider you one of my best friends in the entire world.
Agreed. And same, right back.
There was that fork in the road where it could have gone just professional. But you were irresistible, Ward. So what am I going to do?
As were you. Oh, we had so much fun. And Yeah. Another thing you did was you got me my first business coach, Travis Carson.
Yep.
I asked you for $100,000 because I was broke, and you're like, no, but I'll give you like
I
6
remember.
coaching sessions. Eye rolls from me. I just
You're
wanted
like, wait, I gave
was
you
like,
boots.
just give me some money, bro.
Yeah.
And yeah, Travis, like, and then you introduced me to Cole Hooper. And Cole was interviewing for multifamily job,
I
and
remember.
you're like, dude, you got to meet this guy. And I mean, when I met Cole, it's like,
Two peas
you're
in a
my
pod.
guy.
Yep.
And now that's 12 years. We've been partners, and
I met
he's
him
my
at
brother.
Bistro. I remember this vividly, and he was like this big teddy bear guy, and super nice. And he's like, "Yeah, I played football, and you know, Ivy League school." I was like, "Wait a second, this is just meant to be." And I didn't know how it was going to go. And you know, you said 12 years later?
Yeah.
12 years later, like what you guys have created in your brokerage business. Like I had high expectations, but I didn't have these expectations for you at all.
Yeah, and that's how it all happened. Is Travis said, Ward, you have to get a team and you have to hire some young person. I was like, dude, I'm broke. How am I going to hire someone? It's like, you just got to do it. Trust me. Because I did have a book, like clients, and I was doing business, but it wasn't working. And then you introduced me to Cole, and then boom, that started the Deadly Tiger Squad, as we now call ourselves.
But you added, you had other people besides Ward. I know Christina Rodriguez was with you for a while.
K-Rod.
But you didn't know it at the time. You knew how to build teams. It just needed that first domino to fall, and you just kept that momentum going.
That is such like there's so many like invisible ceilings in this life we all create for ourselves, and that's one for sure. Like, who am I to be coaching someone on what to do? You have these, like, I think naturally these feelings of unworthiness or like imposter syndrome. I don't know if I want to be responsible for this great guy who's coming out of college and being his boss. Like, who am I to be a boss? And but you just have to rip that Band-Aid off, and then you're kind of in it.
Yeah.
And it's funny, Cole and I we're just talking about it because we have 2 new teammates that are getting into brokerage, and like how different it is now to train people versus back then. I had no idea. We were just kind of like, I don't know,
I actually thought you guys had the secret formula that you should be sharing with everybody else because it seemed to work. You said imposter syndrome, and that pretty much describes my late 20s into my like late 30s. Because there are a few jobs I had during that time where I was like, why? Like, I'm not sure I should be doing this. I'm managing people that are twice my age with a lot more experience in the business than I had at that time. So I felt that, oftentimes, especially when I came to Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, we were the same age. I have imposter syndrome hiring one person, and you're managing like 50 brokers, dude.
Do you remember what we inherited when we started? Like at the beginning, I think there were 16 brokers in the office total. When you came on board, we were maybe at like 20. And, fast forward 5 years, I think when it ended, it was like 120, something along those lines.
Something like that.
It was, I mean,
because you were just buying companies and teams and recruiting people like crazy. Those were the days.
Those were the fun days.
And then, like when you left Colliers is right when I quit drinking.
Well, there were some times where I think you were looking at yourself like, I can be better. And my job at that time was just to like support you. Right.
Yeah.
But that was right around that time you were kind of going that route.
Yeah.
Amazing what happened with that turnaround for you.
You left Colliers, and I had signed up to go to rehab, but before I went, we did like a farewell trip to Cabo together.
Yes, we did.
I was like, this is it. And I mean, I like went home and went to rehab after that trip. I'd planned to do it.
I probably should have gone to rehab after that trip too, to be honest.
Yeah.
That was rough.
I drank a lot of Pinot Grigio and boat drinks on the beach. It was pretty tame,
We were good.
We
had fun.
Yeah. I think I got robbed by a
We both did.
street walking cheetah.
Yeah, we did.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, we didn't have a lot of money at the time, so it didn't
That's
really
true.
matter. Yeah.
That's true. Oh man, but so many good times. And then we have remained great friends and since that time and always will be.
Always.
So let's go back in time and tell me about growing up Southern California.
Well, I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Chicago.
See, we're best friends, but
Yeah.
I don't remember
I
that.
grew up in Chicago, and my dad was in the banking business. So we moved around a little bit. He got transferred and moved to Southern California right before high school, and went to high school and then went to UCLA.
So wait, you got to LA area as like ninth grade?
Yeah, summer between 8th and 9th grade.
How was that?
Tough in it, but we knew why we were moving and we didn't really have a choice. And so
you had like the same kind of group of friends until that point in Chicago?
Pretty much,
And then you moved to California and you're in high school and like whole new scene. What high school?
I went to Hart High School up in the Valley. And luckily for me, I played sports and I played pretty much every sport. And I made friends pretty quickly, which was obviously very helpful at that age, especially. So high school was great. And then, but really like the fondest times I've had in my life outside of when we worked together at Colliers was at my time at UCLA. My best friends in the world are from that era of my life. And we still to this day meet once a year, if not more, just to hang out with each other. And that's like 20 guys, which is unheard of, right? Like that doesn't happen anymore.
Were you in a fraternity?
I was in a fraternity, and it's one of those things where it's just kind of luck. I didn't choose, my friends at that point. We all just kind of end up in the same spot.
Yeah.
And then what we did choose was to stay friends. And like I said, to this day, if I have a problem, if something happens in my life, like I have 20 people that I can call to say, hey, this is going on in my life. And I know they're going to pick up the phone every single time.
Yeah.
So, those people as you get older become more valuable for sure.
Yeah.
I'm at the point in my life where I'm not looking for more acquaintances. I'm looking for my friends and the people that I can really trust.
Yeah.
And luckily I can call you one of those people. But those relationships and friendships matter more now than they did 25 years ago.
Yeah. What was college like? Were you a good student?
I was a good student. I was misplaced in my education. I was going to be a lawyer, and like my attention to detail, like if I had to read a contract today, start to finish, I couldn't do it. And then I realized one day when the landlord's son rolled up in a convertible Ferrari with his really attractive girlfriend and was collecting rent checks. I was like, wow, what do you guys, how did you do this? Like, what did your family do? And he said, well, we've just owned and, we have a brokerage business and we own multifamily. And I was like, I'm going to do that. So that's how I got into commercial real estate, was that day, seeing that happen. And then that's how my brokerage career started after
that
going into
guy.
UCLA. That was the trigger point of the course correct in my life, away from being a lawyer to going into commercial real estate. My parents were like, wait, you're going to go work for a brokerage company. You're going to take a loan out every month to cover your expenses. Why did you go to UCLA to get a degree? You could just go work for free for someone else. And turned out to be the best professional decision I've made, because otherwise, who knows where, I'd be miserable tax attorney or something like that right now.
Yeah, I don't think you're cut out to do that.
No.
Even if you became that, you would have figured something else out.
It wouldn't have lasted very long.
So, where did you start your career? You started right after college?
I did. I started I had one sales job for a little while, which was awful. And then I started at Marcus & Millichap.
Yeah.
And which was great training, because it was dog eat dog. We're not going to help you. You just figure it out. And if you can make it through that, you know that you've got some talent, or at least the work ethic and the basic skills to be successful in brokerage.
they're pretty meticulous about like counting your calls and things like that.
and listening to your calls and critique. Like it was, it was intense. But I made a lot of good friends, and there are a lot of people that do very well at market. It's a great company. It's just for certain types of people, it works really well. And I would say that I was like a pretty good broker, but not like unlimited ceiling, super potential, $10 million guy. That was never me as a broker.
Yeah.
I left Marcus and went to Sperry Van Ness, and kind of at 25, kind of co-managed a small office. And that was the first taste of being like a player coach or being in a manager's role. And I found very quickly that I actually liked seeing other people succeed, which I think is pretty rare for the type A broker who looks at sometimes things as a zero-sum game.
For sure.
And, so that was kind of the first glimpse into, maybe that path would work for me.
I would say that is something I possess too. And that's why our team works so well.
Yeah.
And we've been together for so long, like Cole's 12 years, James is 7. And to build something like that. And they both just got promotions last month. And James was in the Everest Club and top 5 producer. And like these things, they bring me so much joy. I can't even remember the last year that I was tracking my own fees. I just track the team fees. Like that's all I care about.
That speaks volumes about you as the leader of the team, right?
I just want the team to do revenue, and whoever's doing the work, they're getting paid the fair amount for the work, but it is a team unit. And that's all I care about.
Isn't that a happier environment to go to work in?
Yeah. And when I think about, like, all brokers, I think, have the January 1st syndrome where you wake up and like, how are we going to do this again? And my driver, I have, of course, my children, but it's also Cole's children, James'
They're your
child
family
on the
now
way,
too.
Amanda, like Keller, like all of these. I want to generate, and I pray a lot, like each day. I just like say a prayer of just like gratitude and like thinking about things, and just like I want to generate wealth for the families of my team members. And I mean, it's something that I tell young brokers all the time when because they ask me for advice, like, how did you get to where you are? My team is how I got to where I am, and David Pinsel. But the team really does it. And it's like, at some point when you figure it out, you have to hire somebody, and you might have to give that person like half of the money you're bringing in. But before you know it, you're going to make 3 times as much money. You're going to be working half the amount that you are. And that's how it works. But you have to rip the Band-Aid off, and you have to sacrifice that like immediate revenue for that long-term, like extreme gain. And
100%.
And the friendships that come with it, like, are the most important thing.
Well, my philosophy,
it's like every angle of the team is like, it makes your life better.
My philosophy on that is, I've seen brokers who are just absolute killers, and they don't care about the collateral damage, or, to them, it's absolutely zero-sum game. And I've seen them be very successful financially. And then I've seen people like you who give first and then have reaped the rewards of being that generous and being that kind of leader, and get to the same financial peak as that first broker. The difference is, I feel like the person that's like you does it and is happier. I think their life's more fulfilled. I think that they are more loved back by those that are around them. And it's just, in my opinion, a better way to live life.
Yeah.
Right. But you can get to that same financial plateau. I just think there's a happier way to do it. And then there's, the alternative. And every person has a choice on which way they want to accomplish that goal. You're going to do it in a team setting, or are you going to do it at a, all expense, like, I'll do whatever it takes for me to be successful. I really don't care about what happens to everybody else.
Right.
I've seen it both ways a million times, and God, I'm more like you. I'd rather just do it the right way, in my opinion, which is abundance for all and not just for yourself.
Yeah. And I do think it's an old school mentality that is the the tides are changing. People are recognizing this, and I
Yeah.
think it's becoming more and more common than it was 10 years ago.
I agree.
So it's the nature of the world we're living in.
I agree with
And
you
I think that's a
100%.
good thing.
Yeah.
So you started managing, you liked that, and then you started spending probably like equal parts energy on managing the office, and then how
Yeah. In
did
2008, when you can kind of see the GFC coming, and I am that old where I was I was already kind of a real broker at that time. Um, we didn't come from a lot of money, and I couldn't afford not to make money for a period of time. And when the GFC came, it was scary for everybody. What's going to happen? You saw foreclosures everywhere, people losing their homes. I didn't really have that option. So, um, there was a opportunity at Colliers in Los Angeles, and that was the first time in my life where I really stopped being a broker and became more of a business builder and a platform builder. And that's when I realized that, I was pretty good at recruiting, because
yeah,
I was probably at that time, I was 31, 30,
yeah.
and I had built a, investment sales practice inside Colliers with, people that were doing 3, 4, $5 million.
Is that what your job was? Just like oversee this investment sales
Yeah.
group?
So my job was I had some geographic responsibility, but really it was to build this kind of private capital investment group that was triple net and multifamily, industrial, all those things. And during that period of time, I hired some of the best brokers I've ever, ever been around. Kitty Wallace in LA, Jeremy Snyder, Pat Swanson, they were Mark Zorn, Richard Schwartz. I mean, all those guys I hired during that period of time. And, at that point, it gave me the confidence, like, hey, I built this business from scratch. So I knew I could do it.
Yeah,
My boss and mentor at the time was a guy named Doug Fry,
yeah.
who was the CEO at Grubb and became the global CEO of Colliers. And he asked me to go do what I did in LA, and we need to do that in Dallas. And I thought he was joking. And
How did you meet Doug? Was he CEO the whole time?
Yeah.
So when you got this job at Colliers, then you were meeting with him and got
Yes.
to know him.
Yes. I have no idea why he was kind enough to me to give me that time and attention. But he's the leader that I modeled my leadership style after, which is, I think you can be kind and be honest and have integrity and still get ahead.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
he was, you started looking around and you're like, can someone like that really succeed?
Yeah,
And then I looked at Doug, who was at the pinnacle of our company and guy that was revered by everybody in the company. It's like, that's who he is. So it is possible.
yeah,
And I owe him. And to this day, every time I usually see him once a year. We do a Habitat for Humanity kind of thing in Mexico together.
yeah.
And I tell him every year, it's just, man, you were the model. Like, still to this day, the kind of the North Star of like the type of person and leader I want to be.
Did he did he retire basically after he left Colliers?
Yeah, he did really well. And I think he's very charitable. He does a lot of charity work now, and he invests, and he's living a really good life up in Seattle, and he deserves it.
And something that happened with like from him being in charge to kind of what it's become today is the company became publicly traded
Mhm.
during all that time.
Yeah.
And there was a major culture shift when
Yeah.
that occurred, as would occur with any company that becomes publicly traded.
Mhm.
And now that's the company I know, and I've spent
Mhm.
more time under that umbrella now than the other.
Mhm.
But there were just like there's just cultural changes that
Mhm.
occurred. And instead of I think a lot of privately held real estate companies have more leeway to do fun things
Yeah.
and do more of these training things and spend more money
Yeah.
on things. And I think when you become publicly traded, it becomes an EBITDA game and it's an expense game.
They're worried
And
about
not
Wall Street.
your work. Yeah. And it's how do you keep expenses low, I think is a higher priority than how do you generate revenue.
Well, there's also no, I don't want to disparage any type of the major firms out there do a great job at what they do. They've got great brokers, they've got great people. I think the difference that I see in my recruiting of people is there's a fundamental difference between a firm like the firm I work at now, SRS, and the quote unquote majors. Is I think that there's the sense that the company owns the client when you're that big, whereas I believe that the broker owns the relationship, and it's the job of the company to support the broker in supporting the client.
Yeah.
And I think that that message is resonating a lot with the brokers that I talk to who have spent years cultivating relationships. The last thing they want is the company telling them what to do with the client relationships that they have been fostering over. So I call it managed brokerage. And I think there are firms that really do believe that the client is owned by the company. And I come from being a broker, and I have a visceral reaction to that kind of mentality.
Yeah.
My job in my role is to make sure my brokers have everything they need to succeed.
Yeah.
And if I do that, they won't want to leave.
Yeah.
And we get to keep the client as a result of that. And I think that's a better way to run a business.
Yeah.
But I'm also I'm not in a publicly traded company, and I have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
To hire people that think that way.
Yeah. And I really only know Colliers. I mean, I worked at Cushman for like 8 months, and that was, I feel like Cushman was way more, like they managed me more than Colliers ever has. I also believe I'm to an extent grandfathered into Colliers. If you're listening right now, let's keep it this way. Where they've been great at letting me be me and do my own thing, and I'm a pretty unique guy, like in terms of how I execute business and my extracurricular activities, like this podcast and other things. And they've been very supportive of all my creative endeavors, so I appreciate that. And then like servicing the clients, how I see fit to service the clients. And I mean, I've never had a problem with that. So that's a good thing. So one thing that I'm curious your thoughts on, and it just doesn't apply to me right now, but when I was younger and in that tough stage of the career, and just like your parents said, why did you go to college to go work on draw? Isn't it odd that we are in this like super corporate industry, the way the payment is structured? Like what other industry that is so like suit and tie wearing corporate America servicing business that is the wild, wild west in terms of how people get paid? And like, can you imagine really the level of talent that you could probably be bringing into companies if there was like, hey, we pay 100K plus commissions or 200K plus commissions out of college for these like super talented people that are taking consulting jobs. And I mean, at the end of the day, like once you get to my level, we're making more money than most consultants.
Oh, yeah.
And any, maybe like these investment bankers that are crushing it, they're another level, but there's a lot of these jobs. It just seems strange to me that there hasn't been some structure that's come in when we've become these like $10 billion, $15 billion companies where you don't have this kind of program to recruit great brokers out of college that are going to other jobs because they're like, there's no way I'm going to go work for nothing. I just made straight A's for 4 years.
Right.
Like I would have an MBA, whatever. But those people, it's like, if you could go recruit them, if I was in charge, I'd be like, how do we recruit the straight A students from Ivy League schools to come do this? And then you go to pitches, and then, I mean, you want a differentiator. Yeah. That's all people ask for. What's your differentiator? Yeah. Like that would be a pretty good differentiator.
Couple thoughts on that. I incorrectly 10 years ago predicted that the brokerage payment model would turn more like the consultative, like the McKinsey model or the Bain model, as opposed to a success-based model. I've been wrong for 10 years, but I do think at some point that starts to creep in. It just hasn't happened yet. And who knows what happens with AI and how all that changes, how we get paid and, what happens with brokerage. I'm hearing a lot of opinions positively and negatively about what AI is going to do to commercial real estate. But
what do you hear?
I think the bottom 80% problem, this is my opinion, just completely my opinion.
Yeah, tell me opinions and then also things you've heard from other people. Like
my opinion is that the bottom, call it 80% of brokers will not be necessary. And I think the top 20 that have the relationships will use AI to make those relationships even deeper. That's my read on it, because I think, the flow of information is, it's already free flowing today. It's going to continue to be even more free flowing going forward. So it's that top 20% that know how to take that information and use that to their benefit and the benefit of their clients. It's the bottom 80% that, rely on the top 20% for their income. And I think that those people are in trouble, because I don't think they're going to be necessary. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year or 3 years from now, but I do think it'll be kind of like really beneficial to the top tier and really detrimental to the lower middle tiers.
And you're also talking about most businesses, I think, in the world.
Everything.
Like,
I believe that.
I just talked to a major landlord, and they were talking about their analyst pool has been cut in, I think, by 80% potentially.
Mm-hmm.
And hearing that, it's like AI, yeah. And
it's real, and it's happening. But the good news for people like you and hopefully people like me is that relationships really matter.
Yeah.
Right. And those that can cultivate relationships will always have a place. And you were talking about recruiting from the Ivy League schools and like what the talent pool would look like if we had more of a consultant-based pay structure. My thought on that is, I don't think consultants necessarily make the best brokers, or even if, you went to an Ivy League school and it worked out really well for your brokerage career. But
I could have never been a consultant though. Like
some of the best brokers
never worked that kind of a job.
I know don't have a college degree.
Yeah.
And they just know people, and they know how to create relationships, and they have street smarts, and they rely on the Ivy League, graduate to help with the data and the analytics and the, what happens behind the scenes. But you can't teach relationship building skills. You either have them or you don't.
Yeah. And just like having that level of empathy to get complex deals done, and like to be able to understand what everybody's thinking, to be able to communicate in a way that honors both sides of how they're thinking and explain
100%.
everything in a clear manner. AI is not going to be able to do that. So I do think it's these human skills. And I think there is like a place for, this layer of communication and hand-holding that is required also by brokers, and that might not be like the top relationship having brokers, but also just like these the people that are doing a lot of this like constant communicating of information that data just can't. I don't think AI can get people comfortable and fully explain the data to them. It's like synthesizing data is a whole nother skill set that, yes, AI can synthesize data, but who can explain it? And like, do you want a robot explaining it to you, or do you want a human that's going to be able, that just like gets it?
I know how I would want to receive that information. I would want a trusted advisor to tell me what is going on. But I would also want to know that person is getting the best data. And how are you figuring out where your opinions come from?
That's going to have to come from AI. I agree with that. And that's going to be interesting to see. It is just a wild time, dude. So, I mean, in 10 years from now, when I have you back on the podcast, hopefully
it's going to take that long.
No, I was about to say, hopefully for like the 5th time by then.
I have a request.
Yeah.
Can we do our next one in Tulum?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I love doing it.
It's on film now.
You
can't say no.
I've done multiple podcasts in Tulum. It's my favorite place to do podcasts for sure. Oh man, we had fun in Tulum.
We did.
We went there for Cole Hooper's bachelor party.
We did.
That we weren't really a part of it, but we were like, Cole,
I felt like I was a part of it.
We're gonna be there for your bachelor party, but we're staying at a different hotel. We're not gonna like the boss is not going to be like up in your shit the whole time, but you know,
Well, I
um,
wasn't his boss at that time, was I?
I was.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I was free to go do whatever I wanted to do. You weren't.
We've never really had that relationship anyway.
That's a separate podcast, by the way, if you want to go into what's happened on some of our travels. We could have a full another podcast about that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'd be down to talk about it. We have some wild stories.
And it'd have to be after I retire because we probably don't want all of that out there.
We went on some great trips together.
Yeah.
And I remember going to LA to Manhattan Beach where you live.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first time to go there. And what a great little community.
My friends still
that
ask
is.
about you, by the way.
So we can talk about that. So
Yeah.
we should give the listeners some of
How
this.
deep do you want to go into that?
I want you to just be real and tell the whole story because it's when I drank and I no longer
Oh
drink.
my
So it like nothing is like anything that happened back then was a different version of myself that is now gone. So, I mean, dude, it was so fun. We went there. We actually had some good meetings that I had with some clients there, and we went and took care of that. I remember the soundtrack for me. I have soundtracks in my mind of each phase of life.
Yeah.
And I remember Lucero just came out with this album called Women in Work, and I was blasting it. I'm sure I played it for you like 50 times. Like, dude, you have to hear the song.
I remember.
So that sets the stage. We flew on Virgin Airlines, which you used to fly on. And that was my first time to fly on Virgin Airlines, which is the best airline.
Love field right in. It was the best.
And those first class seats were so awesome.
Good old days.
Even when I was a broker, I always
You could still afford those seats.
I always flew first class. Like it didn't matter if I had like $25,000 in debt. I bought first class seats. Like
I remember.
I'm rolling this way, and it will be affordable eventually. And I still do. It's just something that I think after the band years of flying coach to Australia in a middle seat. And sleeping in vans and shit. Like when I started this, like, hey, I'm living
better
the high class lifestyle now when I'm
Plus
on the
you were
road.
a big guy back then. So it's like,
oh yeah.
You were twice the size you are now, basically.
I was sweating every morning.
It was amazing.
Not from working out.
It was amazing that you functioned as well professionally during that time, knowing what you were doing in the extracurricular activities at that time. I still to this day don't know how you did it. Really.
So, like we flew to Manhattan Beach. I mean, I was drinking like, wine bottles on the flight over there. We got to Manhattan Beach. Yeah. What did we do? I
took you to my local dive bar, and I think I had, there was a section of the bar that was probably 8 seats long, filled with like my really close buddies, and I introduced you to all of them, and they had beers kind of on the bar in front of them. It's probably like 6:30 on a Friday or whatever it was, and you walked in and drank every single one of their beers.
Just boom, boom, boom.
Just hey, I'm Ward, and just started drinking their beers, and they're like, "What is going on?" By the end of the night, everybody loved you. And to this day, like who can do that?
Was I rapping or anything?
Probably.
I was probably rapping.
Probably. I think this was during the Warden times.
Yeah.
And then, most people, if they do that to someone, it ends up in a fight.
Yeah.
Right. And instead with you, somehow it ended up in hugs, which is like, still don't understand that.
I had a strange way about me where I could just be this like, bull in a china shop or whatever, like tornado, yet hugging everyone and being super friendly. So it was an art form that I carried with me through that whole like 20 years that I was like that. I never got in a fight with anybody. And I mean, but I would push like, just like you're talking about our friendship, boss relationship, like I would push right to the line of getting in a fight. And then I would know how to just smooth it right over and like, dude, I'm just fucking with you or whatever.
It was, I remember the look on the bartender's face, like, like what is going on here? And at the end of the night, everybody was giving you a hug. And to this day, and that was probably, how many years ago was that?
It was 2012.
So 16 years ago?
14
years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
They still ask about, hey, what's up with your buddy Ward? Like it still comes up to this day. because no one's ever seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
And, I'd give him the cliff notes on you, like, that guy? Really? Wow.
It's funny. I have so many people in my life now that only know me as sober version of me.
Mm,
Because I drank one out of the last 10 years, so not
mhm.
very much. And so most people in my life now that I spend time with and clients, they've like never seen me drink or maybe drink
Sure.
a couple times.
Sure.
But it's funny to think about that person that I was back then.
I mean, and there
And
was, how many nights did we have out where we had dinner and, you know, I'd have 2 cocktails and you'd have 10. But somehow the next day you'd be fine and like functioning and it was, I still to this day, I've never seen anything like it. But I'm glad, so happy as your friend to see kind of the namaste that has occurred for you now.
we would have after parties after the Christmas parties
Yeah,
at your
I
house,
remember.
and everybody would go over there.
Yeah.
And I was hammered at one of them and went home. I did go to the office the next morning and somebody told me like, "Hey, I heard you got naked and jumped in Pinsel's pool last night." I was like, "Dude, I mean, it was winter time, and I was like, there's no way I did that. I don't
I
remember.
don't
I
think that
can't."
happened. I'm going to go on
Yeah,
record and say that did not happen,
it
but maybe I'm wrong.
it was Wade.
So I'm definitely going to say that didn't happen.
So
But
the telephone game of storytelling went around the office, and they still thought it was Ward, but it was Wade. It was not Ward. So God bless you, Wade.
that they had, thank God it was him and not you.
I know.
But those were good times. I mean, when I came to Dallas, like I said, I had never stepped foot in the state of Texas before my first day of work at Colliers.
Wow.
And I was living in the Ritz-Carlton because I didn't have a place to live and no friends. And I went to Dallas on the pretense of, Doug said, "Hey, we need you to be there." And he said, "What do you need to go?" And I said, "There's nothing you can do to make me leave California." And he's like, "Just make me an offer. Just like, let's do it." And, I said, "Okay, this is what I need." And Doug said, "Okay." And
Yeah.
I told my family I'm 3 weeks, I got to go move to Dallas. And they were like, "What is going on?" And the first couple weeks were really tough. And then, but then I started doing the stuff that I actually like, which is the recruiting and the business building and building culture and those kind of things. And you showed up and then it turned out to be like 5 of the best years of my life. And it's some of the best friends I have in the world are from that era of time.
I want to go back though. So obviously, what he offered you was a significant pay upgrade, right? Like
Control, pay,
freedom. You
yeah.
could go home all the time. You could travel back
Mhm,
home,
mhm.
and like this is all being covered. To come in and like take this office to the next level, which you did. You executed that perfectly. Tell me about like the first day walking in and like, I'm the boss of all of you. And you were what, 34 years old?
Yeah, there were 2, and I'm not gonna name names. There were a couple brokers that were just not having it. They're like, "What? California and, there's no way I'm taking orders from this guy." So
Yeah,
we
in Dallas, Texas, which is like the commercial real estate mecca
yeah,
of the world. And there's so much history here. So for a California 34-year-old to come in and manage this office,
I
like
was
I
so
can just
naive.
see these old school brokers that are there, like, what is going
I was
on?
so naive and I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. So I had a lot of confidence because I had done what I did in Southern California. So like, how hard can Texas be? Like, California's the Mecca, like it can't be that, like, it's going to be easier in Dallas. And it's not. Dallas is one of the best brokered, cities anywhere. And there were a couple brokers that just would not even give me the time of day, didn't respect any of the authority that I had. And I had to let them go right away. And
Yeah,
so and they were 2 of the bigger producers in the office.
yeah.
So we had started basically with, I think, 12. We were down to like 10 brokers pretty quick. And I'm like, this is going to be a disaster. This is like a career ender for me. Like this is where my career goes to die. And then I don't know what it was. You could tell me what it was probably better than I can explain it, but for whatever reason, it just started clicking, and we started recruiting some really good people, and I don't know why they came. You know, there was really no reason for them to believe anything. That I had no history here, I had no track record, nothing. But then the momentum started to change, and I think people were like, "Wait, that seems like a pretty good culture. Like I should consider that."
I think the young people like me, and I heard about you from Travis Ewert, so he's kind of our age. And I think like
Can I just say
you're,
something real quick?
yeah,
You gave me homework before this to listen to the previous podcast, Carl Ewert's. It was one of the best podcasts. And by the way, just a quick thing on Carl Ewert before you tell your story.
yeah, yeah.
When I first got here, no one knew who I was. He was very kind. There was no reason for him to take any kind of liking or interest in me. He worked for a different company. He's Mount Rushmore of all the brokers here in Dallas. And he invited me over to his house. I lived in Lakewood. He lived in Lakewood. And he just was more gracious and kind to me than he really should have been. So Carl, if you're watching, thank you for that. And I enjoyed the podcast. What a tough act to follow on Truckin on.
I told you he went viral on Instagram this week.
Unbelievable.
I mean, it's like 160,000 views in 24
Amazing.
hours.
Deservedly so, by the way.
And he's really good at podcasting, and I don't think he's ever done a podcast before either. Dave, you've never done a podcast.
Mm-mm.
It's a real common theme among my guests. But he's such a pro, and he just says things like, "Ward, I'm gonna tell you what the secret of life is right now."
Yeah.
And that's all I got.
Yeah.
If Carl was here, he would just deliver gold
Yeah.
after gold after gold, and he's just full of them. The one-liners, and he just is, and you can tell. I never worked on a deal with him or anything because we do different things.
Mhm.
But you can tell just from doing the podcast, like, of course, I'm going to hire this guy to be my broker if he comes into the pitch.
Do
And
anything. He
he's
can do
just
anything.
so dialed in and calculated, and it's like he has so much control over what's coming out of his mouth, and the way he says things, and his presence is amazing. So yeah. And his son Travis introduced me to you.
That's
Because
right.
Travis and I grew up together, and we worked at Transwestern. He was coming over. He's like, what I heard is, you got to meet this guy, David Pinsel. Like, he's young and he's from California and he drives a Porsche. But he's like, I like him. I think you'll like him. You need to meet him. And I was like, I'll go meet him. That sounds interesting. And like I said, when we met, it's like, is this real? Are you really in charge? For me, it was awesome. It's because I wanted that youthful energy and somebody that's like a peer of mine that I'm working with, instead of what I historically, seen in the industry is just somebody that's from a different generation to an extent, and do things differently. And it was way more of a buttoned up.
Yeah.
You always wore like nice suits and everything, but you also carried that California energy. And like right when you walked out of the office, flip flops are on and shorts are coming on and all this. But you could always tell you were always you. And I feel like the culture, a lot of commercial real estate is to be more. I've always use this term, so no offense, but like corporate robot-y.
I think that's fair.
I can get it. Like, I get it why you'd want somebody that's super politically correct and saying all the right things, and just like kind of in this like managing in a really calculated robotic manner. Like, these are the rules. You got to stick to the rules. And that's all I'd ever experienced. But you had this youthful energy and this like level of creativity and your approach to the business that I felt within me, but I'd never witnessed before in a leader. And I'm sure that because once I came on board, I would tell anybody, like, this is awesome. I used to tell Gina, like, if David goes to sell insurance, I'm going to become an insurance salesman. So anyway, but
I
yeah,
appreciate that.
the momentum gained, and then that office, blew up.
It did. It just kind of started recruiting itself, right?
It was so
Um,
fun too. We hung out
we did.
and
Well, that was part of the culture, right? Is like, hey, we're not going to force you to come hang out, but I'm a big proponent of pull versus push energy. I don't want to push anybody to do anything. I want to pull people towards, the things that I value, culture, collaboration, those kind of things.
I mean, every week we were having like office happy
Yeah.
hours or at least once a month, like an official one. But
Yeah.
there was a big group of us that
We
we
just
were
liked
hanging
hanging
out
out with
all the
each
time.
other.
Yeah.
And that you
And we're
can't fake
talking,
that.
and we're obviously like, we're friends, but we're talking shop.
Yeah.
Like we're doing
Clients would
business.
show up, brokers from other,
Yeah.
that's where most of the recruiting ended up happening was they weren't getting that necessarily from where they were. And they wanted to see it for themselves and they showed up. I don't know how many people we hired from other places that came from,
Socializing with
with
us
us.
when we were all out there.
Yeah.
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 It was a great time, dude.
It's actually not that complicated if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like you want to work with people you like, I guess, right?
Yeah. And have fun
hmm
when you're working.
And you can do that and be successful and work hard and do the right
work
things.
can be fun.
Yeah.
It is, and I've always just embodied that. That used to be a core value of Colliers. I don't know if it is anymore. They used to get preached the core values,
Yeah.
but we developed our own core values for our team so that those are now ingrained into my
Sure.
soul.
Sure.
Um, so what advice would you give to your younger self?
You're really good at this podcasting thing. That's a good question. I would celebrate wins a little bit more. I was pretty hard on myself at the beginning of my career where it was like, hey, you get something done and it was pretty much on to the next thing. And maybe I would have taken a beat and said, hey, that was great, and maybe celebrated a little bit more, maybe not put as much pressure on myself at that time.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the things. I would have told myself not to sell my house in Lakewood when I left. That was pretty stupid. I wish I
Dude.
didn't do that.
I mean, that probably tripled in value.
Yeah, don't remind me. I'm supposed to be a real estate expert, by the way.
That house was so cool.
I don't know, man. I love the mistakes that I made. So I would want to make those mistakes again because I think that helped me get, ahead.
Yeah.
But I think from the personal side, maybe just, not taking wins and losses so seriously.
I love the mistakes thing. And it's at this stage of my life when mistakes are being made or just failures occur just for no reason, even if there
Mhm.
wasn't a mistake made, just looking at it with the perspective like this is a learning experience. It sucks. It definitely sucks, but I'm not going to get too worked up. It's like,
No.
what is the learning? What is the lesson? There's a lesson. There's a lesson. And all of these things that happen that are failures or mistakes lead to greatness eventually. So recognize that as soon as possible when they're occurring, and then they're just a little easier
I tell
to
young
go
brokers all the
through.
time, mistakes that are acknowledged, rectified, and then you improve upon it because you made that mistake raises your ceiling
Mm,
it raises your potential. And there is no broker that makes no mistakes, right? It's just you how do you respond to them? Some people respond well and some people blame others,
yeah.
right? You see that all the time. And I just think that lowers their potential ceiling. And those that learn from their mistakes and are humble about it, their ceiling actually keeps increasing as they make those mistakes.
The blame energy is like the biggest self-sabotaging energy that anyone can have.
Unfortunately, it's you see it. I mean, you can't avoid it. It's going to be around you, and it's hopefully my job and what I'm trying to do is get rid of that and bring in more of that collaborative. Hey, the non-zero sum game. We can both win. I think that is becoming more and more of the job
I've
when you're
learned
in brokerage.
the blame thing is like 101 in sobriety.
Hmm.
Because if you blame people for things, then like I drink because this person pissed me off or whatever, or I was raised in this way, or this person cheated on me, so I'm going to drink, blah, blah, blah. Like it's such like a common theme of the
Yeah.
alcoholic or drug user to blame people. So then they teach you like you have to blame yourself.
Yeah.
You make a list of resentments of everybody that you resent for things, and then you realize if you're really honest, you have resentments towards every single person in your life for one thing or
Mhm.
another. And then you realize the common denominator is you.
Yeah.
And it's all your perspective on these events that needs to change because that's what you can control. And that's
So
just
true.
frees so much up. Um, so much good energy comes alive from that
Mhm.
way of living. Have you ever had a mystical experience?
Mystical experience, something that I couldn't explain?
Yeah.
Mystical experience. I don't think I mean, I don't think I've had anything that's happened to me where it's like, what was that?
Like
Or
seeing a ghost
yeah,
or
I don't think I've had any of those. I mean, there's some fun times I was in Iceland once, and I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. I was looking at the sky and seeing some crazy stuff. But I don't think I've ever had something where it's just I can't explain that.
yeah.
I wish I had something, but I don't think I do.
Yeah.
I mean,
You have to start looking for them
well,
and
that's
then
why
they
we need
will
to go back to
appear.
Tulum.
Oh yeah.
I feel like it's down
I've had
there.
lots of mystical
I
experiences
feel
in
like there's
Tulum.
more down there than here.
Yeah. It's funny though, like I feel like Southern California is like a mystical place.
Tell me, so give me an example of one of your mystical experiences.
Well, um, keep in mind, like I live a life seeking mystical experiences.
Mhm.
So when you do that, it opens lots of doors.
Mhm.
That like I've done ayahuasca,
Yeah.
I've done ketamine a lot. So psychedelic drugs, definitely mystical experiences.
Mm. That's probably why I haven't had any.
Mushrooms,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, like that's like that's one category that's just like accessible, and you if your doctor says it's okay to do it and you can go do it in a legal, safe manner,
Mhm.
then that's a good easy button for mystical experience. Joe Dispenza meditation conferences. I've been to
Mm.
7 of them, so that no drugs involved. You just go and you do breath work, like
Mm.
hardcore breath work, and you meditate for 8 hours a day for 5 days or something. And when you do that in a room full of 3,000 people with everybody doing that, it's like,
Wow.
okay, this is the real deal. I mean, I've studied yoga and meditation and all of that, and I probably put more time into that practice than I have into any other thing in my entire life.
Mhm.
So that the breath work and meditation far exceeds the mystical experiences of the psychedelic drugs that
Really?
oh yeah. But it requires like extreme discipline and consistency in the practice. So it's something that now um I have mystical experiences every day because I do this work for hours each day. Um, then you have things that then I think when you start paying attention to things like this house, I was
Mhm.
telling you, this is a mystical experience because I wasn't looking for a house, but I did have my dream house in my mind. I
And it
mean,
showed up?
exactly to the T, location, style, one story, 4 bedrooms, killer backyard in Lakewood. And Um, I wasn't looking for a house, and then this just appeared, and then Trump did all the tariffs, and the market crashed, and then the price of the house dropped significantly, and it's like, now it's in my price range,
Timing
and
is
let's
everything.
go, and that's a mystical experience, and so thank you,
I need
God,
one
for
I
this
need one of
home.
those, by the way. That sounds good.
So I think, like, the whole thing around them for me is like a consciousness and then a desire to have them,
Mm.
then you will notice them because they're happening, but you might not be noticing them. But then when you start paying attention, then you notice them, and then they happen more and more, and you have these synchronicities start to occur, which are already occurring, I think. But when you start realizing them, I feel like just like in brokerage, you get that confidence when you close those first deals and get those
Yeah.
first big clients. It's like when you start having the mystical experiences, then it's like, oh, I live in this flow of mystical experiences. And believe it or not, you have demonstrated this to me because you're naturally have this positive, optimistic personality. And where I really realized this trait that you possessed that I wanted to possess, which I feel like I do now,
Mhm.
is in Las Vegas playing blackjack. And you're always just like winning whenever I'm with you. And you're just because you're just like, I'm gonna win. Like, don't worry, it's fine. And you're gonna win too. And I'm like,
And it
how are
happens.
yes, and it happens because you're just like, you have that vibe, and that is mystical. And because you do this so naturally.
Was that the
But
time we met Wiz Khalifa? Was that
yeah,
trip?
yeah,
I think it was.
was it?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. We were staying at the Hard Rock.
Mhm.
It was at the Hard Rock when it really dawned on me, and I remember like which direction we were facing at this blackjack table. I was like, "Damn, Pinsel is like kind of a magician here because it's all your energy and vibe, and it's kind of like the laws of." You can read The Secret is a great book that
Okay.
talks about this that you do naturally, and it's like the laws of attraction, and it's kind of like if you worry about shit all the time, the universe will give you more shit to worry about.
Mm.
And if you're grateful and you're high vibing, the universe will give you more grateful, high vibing things in your life. And so it's this personality shift. And some people will not call that mystical. I do. So I think you actually are a great example of someone who lives in this state quite often, that no one just lives in it all the time, but you can get there pretty easily. And I think that is something that I've always thought is so cool about you that I've
Thank
tried to emulate and attempt to do so.
I
So
you know, I try to make it my default. No one lives in that place all the time,
right,
right? But you just want that to be kind of your default, and you're always trying to. It's like I have this motto. It's like just like stress makes you old faster,
yeah,
and I really believe that.
yeah.
And I'm trying to avoid stress as much as I can. Sometimes you can't. It
I've
happens,
seen you
but
on a bad day.
oh
I
yeah,
know
I've
you're
had many. I
human.
mean, I've had many. And it's just how do you react to that, and how do you get back to your default?
Yeah. What's the greatest obstacle you've ever overcome?
I don't know if I've overcome it yet. My father passed away in August.
So sorry to hear that.
Thank you, and you know, very lucky. My dad was an amazing guy, amazing man. He was good, great father, great husband. My mom and dad had been married 50 years. Um, and I'm still kind of processing that. And I left Dallas in 2016, and I'm glad I did because his health started failing even back then. And I feel like I had 10 years with him where I spent a lot of time with my family in California that I can look back on in 20 or 30 years and be really thankful for that time. But I don't know if I've overcome that yet. That one's been really rough, and not just from the perspective of losing your dad, but the impact on your family, like what it's done to my mom and what it's done to my brother and Grant, like all of that. So that is an obstacle um, that I am still overcoming. I recently took on a different role at my company, which requires me to be on the road a little bit more, and I'm trying to balance that with kind of helping out at home as best I can. So I think that this is probably the biggest obstacle I've had in my life, and you know going back to the trying to get to your default of being happy and grateful, and so I had it's a little bit harder right now,
Yeah.
but I still feel like I get to that point better than most, and maybe in 6 months it'll be a little bit better, but right now I'm kind of in the thick of that.
Something I think about like real clearly on how to behave like that is just like it's my duty to be a presence of peace within this world.
Hmm.
And like when you're in those situations or in some really stressful deal situation or personal or whatever, it's just like choose to be the presence of peace for the people around
Yeah.
you. And then that's that whole goes back to the giving thing.
Yeah.
And like, and I know you're that for your mom and
Hmm.
your family. And they're like, David's here. This is great. But you know, you and I don't know, but I know You'll get through it. And through all my mystical experiences, I can tell you your dad is right here with you now still.
I believe it.
So
I do. I honestly believe it. And you
he's
know,
like supporting you and he's with your family. I know that.
oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And you know, there's everybody grieves and that has losses in their lives, especially as you get older. And, you know, I look back at the blessing of like, we had him for so long
Yeah.
and he probably lived 10 years longer than he should have based off what his health was. And then, you know, he was just kind of that nice jovial guy. And I think, you know, a lot of that, you know, how I look at the world and how I treat people comes from how I saw him treat people.
Yeah.
So like every time you see me and you talk about the positivity and the things that you notice in me, that's because of my mom and my dad for sure.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I like to close with just asking about a few of your favorite things.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite restaurant in Dallas?
Whoa. I'm out of practice in Dallas. I mean,
Like when you come back here, do you think about like, I want to go to someplace?
I mean, we're going to go to Uchi in a little bit. That's one of them.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of miss like the old kind of divey spots. I mean, they're not restaurants, but our times at the truck yard.
Oh yeah.
I miss that a lot.
We had a lot of those social hours there that we were talking about.
I'm a big Albernays fan. You know, some of those, there's no doubt. I think you know this. My first like 90 days in Dallas, I think I gained 25 pounds.
Oh yeah.
Never tell you the story. When I came home, my mom was like, "What? You have like cancer? Like what happened to you?" I went from like 170 to 200 like that.
Dude, I think if I moved to LA, I would lose 20 pounds like that.
It was so I'm glad that there aren't as many great food options around me like there was when I moved out here. But yeah. And I've got friends that are telling me where to. I like the Swexen. Have you been to the Swexen yet?
Yeah, yeah.
That's where I stay when I come out.
That's nice. Are you staying there tonight?
I hope so. I haven't. You know, I need to find a place to.
Oh yeah.
We'll figure it out.
That's great. Are you a book reader?
I'm a book hearer.
Do you have a book
I
you
do
would
audio
like to
books.
recommend?
Man, my hobby is investing in the stock market. So I thought Jim Cramer's latest book was really good.
Yeah.
A book that I recommend, you know, I read everything about Warren Buffett that I can.
Have you ever read that Charlie Munger Almanac before?
That's probably a little too deep for me. Anything with almanac in it, I'm a little scared.
It's like a coffee table book. It's really good. But Charlie Munger, it was his right-hand man, you know, I think was.
He's dead.
Yeah, he's dead. But yeah, it's just like all these great one-liners. It's so good.
I also got kind of down the rabbit hole of like biohacking and like longevity and stuff. So I read David Sinclair.
By the way, you trade stocks, yet you follow Warren Buffett, who says don't trade stocks.
But I like to gamble.
Right.
So I got to square those two things.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, Peter Attia, I've read his stuff.
Dude, he got in trouble.
I know.
He's in the Epstein files.
I will not buy any more of his books, but if you haven't read David Sinclair, you should do it. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I'm not going to go down the Epstein files thing, but I was like, I was talking to somebody, Deepak Chopra is like his big spiritual guy. And he has a bunch of emails. He's like, bring some Israeli girls to the conference or something.
I've actually tried to avoid because it just makes me angry and sad. Like, you know,
but I was talking to someone. I was like, well, he still like wrote some good books. So do you like it? Like, I don't know, you know, like how much did they know? And are we ever going to
know how much they know?
I'm always devil's advocate here because I just know people who've done lots of fucked up things before. And maybe their like perspective's not right. And I'm not saying like everybody's right or everybody's wrong, but it's not as simple as reading these emails and understanding what the relationship was and what was going on. But at the end of the day, Peter Attia wrote some good books on biohacking. And it's like, am I never going to read his book again? Because like, I mean, I don't know if he was like, if the things I hear, I don't know what's true. Like, was he like eating babies, or was he like going at, who knows what's going on? I don't follow the news. I don't read
I
it.
try not to watch the news anymore either.
I do just have like a core belief in forgiveness. I don't follow any of this also because I have a core belief in boundaries and not bringing any of the stuff that has no impact on me into my life, either. I can't escape it from like the peripheral when hearing about it from people. But whenever I hear anything about anyone, I'm like, that is not true. That's what you heard of someone else's perspective on it. But unless I talk to that actual person and hear their story, that's kind of like my only litmus test that I would trust in this world on anything that I'm hearing about is go to the source directly and hear what happened and from their perspective. And I do also believe in like repentance and atonement. So if I were happened to be in those files, which I'm not, everyone, I did not know this guy. But if I was, I would fucking own it. I would take ownership and say, I did some fucked up things and I'm sorry. And here's exactly what happened. And I no longer do this. And now I live in atonement. And by that, I mean, I am doing the opposite and living my life this way in like a healthy manner and making a change in the world. Cause that I think is like the true way to live is like everybody's going to make mistakes. Are they going to wind up in the Epstein files? That's like the most cringiest thing to wind up in I could ever imagine. But if I did, I would take ownership of it and be as transparent as possible about it and be absolutely public and clear. Like, I do not do this shit anymore.
Yeah.
And it's frankly what I do with my whole alcohol stuff and my stories. Like, I talk about my shortcomings and I take ownership of them, and I no longer behave the way I used to behave. I don't go into bars and drink everybody's drink and push these lines and do all kinds of other fucked up things I used to do. So I have the freedom that comes with telling the truth about these events. So anyway.
Well, most people don't have the guts or the fortitude to admit they're wrong, right? So like how egregious that whole thing is undeniable.
Right.
What's also egregious is not owning it and making excuses for it or denying. I think that just doubles how bad it was.
The lack of absolute transparency is my biggest problem with the whole thing. It's just like everybody should be taking ownership and talking about it instead of having publicists say, just stay quiet and just say like, oh, those were some goofy emails.
That's where we live, right? That's the world we live in right now. It's like you can almost spin an alternative universe because who knows what's fact and what's who knows? Like that's unfortunately kind of where we're at right now.
I was told the other day by someone that I get so much positive feedback on this podcast and everything, but I was told by someone who heard something about me talking about my sobriety. Like, you need to like take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth, and you're too early stage in your sobriety to be talking about this as self-promotion. And I was really,
this was a comment.
This is like a DM. And so I got that DM and it did trigger me a little bit because I was just like, A, you're fucking wrong. But B, like, and that's really it. It's like, I appreciate your perspective, but I don't feel that way. But I feel actually like talking about it, it's healthy for me to talk about it because of what we're talking about right now. It's just like, it alleviates the shame. I'm being an open book. I'm sharing this story, and I'm just hopeful one person hears me sharing the story, because that's what happened to me 10 years ago that led me on my journey. Is I heard somebody else openly tell their story to me in a way where I could not believe this person is telling me all of this stuff that they did, and how alcohol was the root cause of it. But it helped me to see alcohol is the root cause of all my problems. And so that's why I share it. And But I think this whole, just like teams are becoming more popular, I think truth telling is becoming more popular,
Yeah.
and it's going to be much more appreciated.
Yeah.
AI can't tell the truth for human beings.
No.
So I can tell you that is one thing that's going to set human beings apart in this new world is you tell the fucking truth.
Yeah.
And you tell your story, you share your stories. And that's what we're doing right now.
I love it.
Do you have a favorite quote?
I like my quote about stress and getting old. I tell people that all the time. You know, I don't really have a motto or a quote. I just, you know, I as I've gotten older, you know, I'm kind of on the back nine now, which is kind of crazy. When we met squarely in hole 6, now I feel like I'm like hole 13. But you know, I just kind of live like one not regretting. Like
Yeah.
I'm living a little bit more in the moment now. Maybe not in the last like 6 months, but overall I'm trying to live that way, because as you get older, man, it's inevitable. It's like, you know, you may have more money than time now, right? So it's like, use your time. Time's more valuable than money at this point. So I you know, that's where I'm at kind of in my life. It's just not living by mottos, just like trying to enjoy now.
Yeah. I love it, dude.
Like now, like literally right now.
Right now.
Like right now.
Well, right now, I'd like to thank you for joining me today, David Pinsel. I love you, brother.
Same. Right back at you.
Thanks for trucking on.